entitled The Myth of Multitasking and the Art of Brain Focus. First of all, allow me to welcome you and thank you for joining this webinar. Allow me also to extend special thanks to our recurrent participants. We have noticed that some of you have been always joining us for webinars with Meirc training and consulting, and that's really a privilege that we really thank you for. And finally, I would like to wrap up my introduction to congratulate you for deciding to dedicate the next 60 minutes for self-development. This is a trait that is more of a value for us in Meirc training and consulting, and you taking this decision put us together on a partnership for lifelong learning. Now, just before I start, let me test the chat pod just to make sure that you are able to communicate with us via the chat platform. So I'll just write hello, and those of you who can hear me well and are able to use their chat, I hope also they reply accordingly. Great, so as we see, you are already on and ready to start. So just a note, as I looked at the list of participants, I see that we have a dominance of women in our webinar today. And I believe that women have been associated with being masters of multitasking for long right now. So ladies, please be aware that this topic is a little bit sensitive here for you because we might, decline some myth regarding multitasking. And for us men, we are known for being able to focus on one thing at a time, so that's no news for us. Allow me, before we continue any further, to introduce a little bit for the new joiners our company, Meirc Training and Consulting. So the company has been established in 1958. This is our 61st year in operation in the industry of training and consulting. The company started first in 1958 in Beirut, and then it moved the headquarters to Dubai by 1991. Currently, we offer 260 public courses in Arabic and English across many regions in Middle East, Africa, East Asia, and Europe for a large fan of our clientele from very, very diversified industry. That's a privilege that we have here, and we really thank all our clients that gave us the trust and the momentum to further establish our position in the market and grow to serve them even better. In 2014, Meirc has identified a need in the market to offer specialty trainings, and that's why we established a division that provides industry-specific and function-oriented trainees called PLUS. The courses from PLUS are also facilitated by subject matter experts in their field and practitioners who can offer technical know-how to our participants. What makes the company thrive are 5 values, which the name gives an indication for. M stands for mastery, for being keen to choose the right people, the best in their field to deliver the content and the workshops, the trainings, and the consultancies for our client. We thrive always for excellence. We try to do our best always. We believe that our industry, especially because it is in the learning field, it's a race without a finish line. And that's why we add on top of that our desire to innovate, to venture into new methodologies, new platforms of offering learning. We also really emphasize reliability in terms of trying to fulfill all our promises to our clients who are the center of our operation. Certainly, these values are our daily inspiration and our daily struggle as well, because we know that maintaining 100% effectiveness on all aspects requires lots of effort. So hopefully we are making our best to serve you as our loyal clients. A small introduction about myself. My name is Rabih. Rabih Rizk. I come from Lebanon, currently based in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai as a management consultant with Meirc Training and Consulting. Through my education, I accomplished two master's degree, one in education and one in HR management and training. I had the chance to serve in 22 countries around the world with courses in leadership, organizational behavior, personal productivity, experiential learning, innovation, and interpersonal communication. So I had the chance as well to teach in very reputable universities in Lebanon. Currently with Meirc, I offer courses in human resources as a technical area, in leadership and management, interpersonal skills, administration, and communication, on top of serving clients with consultancy solutions in various HR areas. So that's in a nutshell a little bit of background about myself and about Meirc training and consulting. So without further ado, let me dive with you into the context of our webinar, which is about multitasking and the art of brain focus. So this is part of a productivity model that our practice inspired us to develop through the recent years. And this productivity model focuses on 5 elements that distinguish top performers in the workplace. We chose to give it the acronym SUPER just to be easy to remember. And SUPER stands for 5 elements that I'm going to present right away. We have identified that for a person to be a top performer, excuse me, just a second. Nadia, our technical expert, will be in contact with you in order to solve your problem. So, as a top performer, you need to have those 5 elements that you can see right now in front of you on the screen. The first element, which is the most important one, are the skills, the technical skills that allow you to do your job with a level of mastery that distinguishes you from everyone else in the organization. As a top performer, you have to maintain a high level of focus through managing uninterrupted long intervals of time that allow you to reach the highest level of focus so you can produce high quality as fast as possible to cope with the work challenges. However, those 2 elements are not the only important elements to become a top performer. Those 2 can only give you high performance if you are doing an isolated job. While, as we know in the organizations nowadays, with the change of the structure of an organization, with more going into matrices where everyone is connecting to everyone, dotted lines or organizational charts are becoming more and more frequent practice. The third element that you need to master here is managing people responsiveness. The third element is managing your the fourth element is managing your physical energy, because as simple as it looks. The If you are tired, you will not be able to reach 100% performance. And the fifth element is relevance, is being able to focus on those tasks that are directly connected and directly contributing to your departmental, individual, and organizational objectives. So these are the elements in a different format: skills, uninterrupted time, people, energy, and relevance. Now, a top performer, when they reach 100% of fulfillment on each of those aspects, they will get the fruits of each element, which you can see right away. When you reach 100% fulfillment on skills, you will reach mastery. And for that, we have already a recorded webinar that have discussed mastery, that I really encourage you to view the recorded video if you didn't attend it previously. Today, we focus on the second element, which is uninterrupted time, and which fruit is focus. The fruit of having the right people around you and the right relationships in the organization is a high level of responsiveness. And for that, I have published also recently an article called The Responsometer, which is a very brief description of the levels of relationships that you have in the organization. It might be very helpful for you as well. Energy fuels you with enthusiasm to do the job, to wake up in the morning with the willingness to perform at your best, and the engine that will allow you to perform at your best. And finally, relevance, working on the high important goals for your organization, fuels you with alignment. So this is the model that our research proved that will allow people to reach 100% of their performance. Now, going back to the super acronym, if you have noticed the multiplication sign between those elements, this is a very inspiring mathematical formula here that I would like to draw your attention to. In fact, the secret here is that the absence of any of those five elements will unfortunately drop your productivity to a zero level. You know, in math, any number multiplied by zero will go to zero. So in just a very mere example, if you didn't take care of your health and you ended up eating unhealthy, not exercising, really exhausting yourself, you will end up coming to the office very tired, and that would lead to zero productivity. Even if you have the best skills in the world, you have lots of time to focus, you have all the people support around you and the relevance you need, zero on energy is zero on the formula. Zero on people is zero on the formula, and so on and so forth. So that's the context within which we focus to allow people to reach the untapped and the really rare level of productivity, which is the 100% productivity. So as I said, today we focus on the second element of this model, which is the uninterrupted time. And that's why we discuss it through the lens of multitasking and through the lens of the art of brain focus. I'll start with a little bit of a self-assessment, and I'd like you to rank yourself from 1 to 10 on the next 6 questions that I will show on the screen. And maybe you'd like to share your scores, maybe you'd like to keep it for yourself, but that would be interesting for you to start a little bit assessing whether you are reaching the required level of focus on your job that will allow you to tap into 100% productivity or not. So these questions are the following. And by the way, just for the note, Please, at any point in time you have a question, feel free to drop it to the chat box. If I can answer to the question immediately, I will do so. Otherwise, I will keep it in my record to answer it by the end of our webinar. So let's go to assess the level of focus that you have in your job, and it's going to be assessed through 6 very practical behaviors that you can see on your screen. Now, I need you to rank every statement from 1 to 10, where 1 is that you score very low, and this is really unlikely in your case on the job, and 10 is that you perfectly do this consistently every time on every day. The first assessment statement is the following. Colleagues respect my focus time. Is that you have an agreement with people that you have a dedicated time for focus during your day, where your colleagues restrain themselves from calling you, from sending you unnecessary emails, or dropping to your office, asking some questions, asking about you, whether it is personal questions or job-related questions. That's our first statement. Our second statement is the following. I have above 50% of my time planned ahead for the week to come. So in other words, you have a weekly schedule that shows in advance the tasks with their allocated time that you have to fulfill on weekly basis. 3, that might seem impossible in our technological era currently, but let's take it as is. I can focus on one task for 2 to 3 hours non-stop. 4, I do not multitask high priority tasks. So high priority tasks are relevant tasks that are related to the 5th element of relevance that provide alignment. But here, what we mean by multitasking is trying to juggle between 2 tasks, 2 very important tasks, in a very short amount of time. 5, I have my own scoreboard of achievements, whether be it your performance objectives cascaded to you by your direct manager, or your list of goals that you have for your job that you have set very clearly with clear measures and clear indicators that can be assessed very objectively on day by day, on week by week, or on quarter basis. The 6th element is a little bit of a challenge as well. I rarely look at my phone during the day. We have been on this webinar for 90 minutes now, and on average, you must have checked your phone at least 7 times without it ringing or giving you any notification. That's the normal norm of a regular business person nowadays. So if you have scored yourself from 1 to 10 on each of the 6 statements, you should get a score between 6 and 60. So I'll allow you 30 seconds to add up the numbers, and feel free, if you want, to share with us your score in the chat bot. Taysir, thank you very much. 13 out of 60. So you score around 25% on this element of focus, which we call uninterrupted time. Ma'ruf scores 25 exactly, 15 out of 60. This is 25%. We'll allow 10 more seconds if some others would like to share their scores as well. Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have scored above 30, it means that you are able to dedicate a high level of focus to your job. The score below 30 really invites you to reconsider the amount of focus that you bring to your job. And I hope that the continuation of this webinar will provide you with the practical tools of being able to raise this number until it reaches an optimal level, and it will help you impressively and massively impact your day-to-day productivity and hence your performance on the job. Let me ask you a question, and feel free to answer top of the mind as well on the chatbot. What do you think will your productivity be if, as a regular business person nowadays, you focus for 10 minutes on a task and then you get interrupted for the next 20? This is not an uncommon scenario, in fact. This is a scenario that nowadays happens very, very regularly to people because of variant reasons. First, because now you are accessible more than any time before. You are accessible through the system with emails and chats. You are accessible through your mobile phone. The cubicles architecture that has been very common in the workplace allow colleagues to somehow invade your space and invade your time, invade your focus time during the job. The good relationships that you build in your organization sometimes give permission to people to invade your mind privacy and interrupt you. So as Taysir has just expressed it, you will experience very low levels of productivity. In fact, when this happens, when you get interrupted, three things will happen. First, you will require more time to achieve what you need to achieve. And these are facts. These are facts. And everyone that says that this is not true, I'm really open to the discussion, and I would also like to invite you in the coming days to monitor your productivity. But please, don't benchmark yourself with people at average levels of productivity. Benchmark yourself with role models of productivity, whether they are around you or they are an inspiration for you in your personal life or in your job. So the second result of interruption is a lower level of quality. Why? Because you might commit mistakes. You might forget a correction that you need to do, especially if it's a complex task. And most probably it will increase your stress because of the physiological, biological reasons that we are going to discuss in a minute. So how does multitasking connect to interruptions? So far, we have only spoken about the external interruptions, the interruptions that come from the outside. However, multitasking, which again I define it as trying to juggle very rapidly between several important tasks within a very short amount of time. That's our definition of multitasking. When you multitask, in fact, and you jump from one task to another that quickly, it means that you are interrupting yourself. That's, in fact, what you are doing. And when you interrupt yourself, you take more time to achieve and to perform, to finish your tasks. Most probably you're gonna be delayed or required to work more hours than necessary to achieve. The quality of your job will be less, and most probably you will experience higher levels of stress and anxiety on the job. So multitasking, ladies and gentlemen, is an internal form of interruption. What happens is, as a matter of fact, although you are working on a task that is of extremely high importance, sometimes you don't like this task. It's not something that you enjoy. And your system will urge you to jump on to the next task. It's like when you add ketchup to a meal that doesn't seem very tasty just so you can you can hide the bad taste of it. That's how multitasking inside your brain works. That's one thing. The other thing is that it's you have developed a bad habit of low time of focus, which is now a very common. We are experiencing in the workplace a new um, form of attention deficit disorder called the modern life rhythm, which is very fast. And you feel like you need to be on top of so many things. So you start and stop, start and stop, start and stop, just to feel that you are moving forward on so many fronts. So also that's hurting your productivity really, really bad. So that's not, honestly, that's not recommended at all. So this is what multitasking is about. It's mainly a an internal temptation to move from one job to another. It's a lack of discipline, and it's a bad habit that has been developed with time. So let me show you how the brain works. And this is mostly biological. It's not about a like just a deductive reasoning. It's a biological fact. A very straightforward fact of the brain is the following. Ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, our brain can hold one idea at a time, one idea at a time, one task at a time. You might think that this is not true, but when you think about too many things, it's like you're juggling very fast between those things. It's not at all that you are thinking about many things in one single moment. So what happens is when you defy this rule, your brain will not be working in the best operational mode. And that's why this is what you are going to experience on a productivity level. So what happens is, like, imagine that your brain needs to start off and build a momentum of focus with time. So you start with a certain task and you ramp up to a higher level of productivity of focus as time goes by, to a place where you reach a peak productivity level. And then it's like you're on the highway of thought. You're running extremely fast. You're focused. You're giving the best quality of job that you can. And all of a sudden, a moment of interruption comes in. And it's just like you have hit your brake on the highway and you have to stop to fill in gas or to stop to take a phone call or sometimes stop to rest or whatever. This interruption brings your productivity on this highway. Let's call this highway writing an article. It brings it to zero. Now, if you are moving to another highway, which is replying to an email, then again, you will have to experience the ramp up time with your brain, reach the highest point of productivity or your peak productivity, and again and again. So imagine like you are driving one on two parallel lines. You drive 100 kilometers, then you stop the car, interruption. You move into another car on another pathway. You jump in, you start off, you start from zero speed, and then you accelerate until you reach the end. When you reach the peak productivity, then you stop again and then you move. So you can see how ineffective this and how much time you are losing, especially on the drop in the productivity and the time that you take to move from the first car, the first task, which now for the sake of an example we called it writing an article, to the next task, which is called, which we associated with replying an email for a client or taking a call or whatever. So you can see now that the time doesn't add up. Time segments, when you are interrupted by your multitasking tendencies, by your multitasking non-productive habits, this is what happened. This is how you lose time. Now, on the ramp up time, your quality is not the best, and certainly when you want to kick off again, stress level will add up because deadlines are approaching and you are not delivering on time. So again, I need to emphasize that you need more time when you multitask. You will deliver with lower quality and you will experience high levels of stress. Great. So far so good. Ladies and gentlemen, any questions? Anything that you'd like to say before we move forward? I can see that someone is typing okay. This is the switching time. Taysir, I'm afraid I didn't understand the question. So while you are writing your question, let me move forward to the vicious circle of distraction, what multitasking is doing into our system. It's just another way of expressing. Yeah, Taysir, that's it. That's it, my friend. In fact, given the interruptions that we are facing externally and internally, this is something that we all suffer from. But I hope that some of the tips that I'm going to give you later are going to be helpful. So let's start with top of the cycle. You are distracted, you lose focus, then the next result is your productivity becomes lower. As a matter of fact, as a direct result, your anxiety goes higher, and finally, you are now confused. You're more confused what to focus on, how can I do it? And then because you are confused, you are then distracted, you cannot really focus on what matters most, and that's the vicious circle you go into. Now, a fact that I'm going to share with you, and I believe that you might be aware of, is our current attention span as human beings. The studies in the year 2000 have shown that our average attention span as a human was 12 seconds. 12 seconds. It means we can focus on average on something for 12 seconds before getting interrupted or losing focus or wandering mentally into other places, it's kind of an internal interruption. Nowadays, and the study is recent, maybe it's not more than 2 years old, we have reached an average attention span of an unfortunate 8 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, a goldfish, which is the symbol of, bad memory, has 9 seconds of focus. So what do you think is lowering our attention span? What do you think is happening in our world that is making us so unfocused and making us become less and less productive as we go by? Technology is helping us, I know, but we are little by little losing the focus of the mind, the discipline that we have. Let me share with you this very interesting study. So an average person experiences 7 interruptions per hour. 7 interruptions per hour. Again, internally, multitasking accounts to 30 to 40% of this kind of interruption. And every time you are interrupted, you spend at least 5 minutes for the interruption itself, and then you need more time to pick up your pace and go back to your peak productivity. Guys, this is 4 hours of daily time spent with interruptions. And unfortunately, experience tells us that 80% of those interruptions are rated little or no value. This is sad. This is really sad. So imagine it requires 3 hours time saved if you can remove those unimportant interruptions. You can save up to 3 hours every day. That's massive. That's massive, guys. It's like almost half a productivity day. So you can increase your productivity by 50% only if you manage those interruptions. Another study has showed us that 69% of employees are not satisfied with the noise level that they experience in their workplace. 63% say that loud colleagues are their biggest distraction at work. 89% say that they are more productive when they work alone. Imagine if we can combine, or if we can control our internal interruption, which is multitasking, and external interruption, which is around us, and make sure that we give our brain the time to focus and we develop the habits of discipline so we can become more productive, we can do miracles. Now, a very important note here for you is the following. You know that every one of us has what we call a biological clock through which we can identify the peak productivity hours. So you need to identify those hours and dedicate them to your highly important tasks where you can really focus the most. Let me share with you my practice. I am a very extremely morning person. My brain doesn't really produce quality work after 8 o'clock in the evening. It's agonizing for me. Through all the study time, through all the peak time of work, I always choose to set up my alarm at 4 a.m. in the morning and work for 3 hours. That would be more productive for me, 10 times more productive than working 6 hours in the night from 6 to 12, for example. You have to identify your internal clock as well and make sure that you adapt your schedule accordingly. Now, as we spoke, we need to understand how our brain really functions. So we have in our brain a uh, a part called the limbic part. It's the part that is mainly responsible for survival. And this part, whenever it is controlling our brain, it means we work by instinct. It means we work by a process called a fight or flight process. It means that we are going into an autonomic nervous system that is really out of our control. And by the way, this system adores interruption because interruption gives it adrenaline, and adrenaline is an addictive kind of hormone that will make you always ask for more. So that's why our first task is to fight this kind of procrastination called internal multitasking through disciplining ourselves to a certain task. So whenever you feel like, oh, I'm bored with this, I need to work on something else, please stop yourself, refrain yourself from moving. In fact, uh, force yourself to set yourself some deadlines of focus and monitor your focus time. You will see that it's gonna expand as time goes by, and you will rebuild a habit of mind discipline and brain mastery, so you will be able to get the best out of the work time that you have. So the brain has also a vicious circle that works like that. People will procrastinate because they want to experience higher levels of adrenaline. This adrenaline being an addictive substance, it will urge you to ask for more of it. That's why you will multitask more. And with multitasking, you will end up postponing so many things until last minute in order to get your adrenaline dose. When you do that, then you will fall again into the procrastination, and this becomes a bad habit. While if you can maintain a high level of focus and focus on one single task, deliver it with high quality, make sure that you prevent yourself from leaning into your bad focus habit, then you will be able to develop the positive productivity habits, the high performance levels that we were talking about in the beginning. So, getting to the practical side, just allow me to share with you six tips that will help you to increase your brain focus. So, what are these six very practical tips? First, discipline your mind. At any point in time, if you receive interrupting thoughts or alerts from inside telling you move to the next task, work on something else, please refrain from doing so. Set a timer if you need to do that. Say, I will work on this task from 9 till 10:30, non-stop. I will not allow myself to go for a smoke. I will not allow myself to go make a cup of coffee. I'll close my door, and I will even hang a sign saying do not disturb, very frankly, to help myself, help my colleagues avoiding interrupting me or coming with other tasks. Second, identify your bad habits. Do you have the habit of looking at your phone more frequently than necessary? Do you have a habit of checking your social media accounts? Are you experiencing addiction to online platforms? 3, study your interruptive behaviors. You will notice that you have symptoms of interruptions. Maybe you will start shaking your legs. Maybe you will start feeling backache or experiencing a high level of blood pressure. Remember, you can control your body through your mind. Breathe, bring back your system to control. Don't allow your instinctive system to take control. Use technology, don't be used by technology. Turn off your internet connection if this is possible. Put your phone on silent. Download apps that limit your screen time of certain social media accounts so you will benefit from your time. 5. Take measures. Take measures, ladies and gentlemen. Stop yourself. No one is getting hurt by your low productivity more than you are. Time will go by and you will find yourself sometimes uh, really late in terms of the performance, in terms of the success that was within your hands, and you chose to let it go because of interruptions and because of bad habits. Finally, take measures to eliminate distractions. Eliminate any kind of distraction. Ask people around you not to call you. I'm even with sharing your weekly calendar with your colleagues, with your boss, with your um direct relationships in the work, even with your uh, social life, so they can know that from this time to this time you are in a highly focused mode and you wish really not to be interrupted. And finally, whenever you start experiencing this good habit of brain focus, please reward yourself, celebrate this moment, and keep forward. And I hope that you also email me back to share with me this kind of uh, private victory that you have achieved over yourself. And good luck with that. Thank you very, very, very much. I really enjoyed sharing this important information with you. I hope you enjoyed it as well. I will allow a few minutes for questions before wrapping up, and thanking you for being such a wonderful audience. Yes, Taysir, absolutely. We will share with you a copy of the presentation, and everyone else, if also you would like a copy of the presentation, let me know as well, and I would gladly do so. Great. So listen, we'll just get your emails from your registration form, and we will send you the presentation for all of you really shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a small announcement to make by the end of this webinar. As I told you before, this is part of a 5-day training called the 5 productivity traits for uh, optimal performance. And I would be glad if you are interested to join us. We are having a session in Arabic by the end of 2019, and also many sessions in English and Arabic in Dubai by 2020. I will right now share with you the link to this training course. Please go ahead, read the outline. If you have an interest, please let me know. I will also drop here my email. So if you want to stay in touch with me, I would be more than happy to do so. And by all means, you will receive the slides very shortly to your email address. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful weekend and see you soon. Until then, stay focused, stay well, and learn daily. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Meirc.com